Litecoin and RUNE are ready to pump. Both altcoins are looking extremely interesting for a potential pump, and I have potential beautiful trading ideas ready for you guys to get executed, and I will give them to you in this video. Last week on Friday, I gave you guys a beautiful trading idea in which I longed Litecoin over here. I gave the exact trading signal in the YouTube video and it pumped to our first profit target. Ever since, it has been correcting, and right now I'm looking for a re-long entry. What we can see over here is a beautiful range with pivot number 1 over here at the end of the impulse. Then we have pivot number 2, pivot number 3, and pivot number 4 and 5 for the range low, giving us a high probability range. We can see the respect of the mid-range, the respect of the mid-range, and some more respect of the mid-range. What we can see over here is a potential deviation above the range high. Beautiful deviation and a beautiful, what the retail traders call, head and shoulder pattern. Now I like this because retail traders identify this as a head and shoulder pattern, and they think that Litecoin should break down some more after completing that pattern. But we know that we do not like to trade these kind of patterns, and that we want to look at a daily and hour 4 market structure. We can see daily time frame still strongly trending towards the upside. So until proven otherwise, we want to continue to look for longs. Now what I think is interesting over here is this piece of price action that we see around the mid-range. The piece of price action, first of all, has been followed up by this break of structure towards the upside. This was a valid break of structure. Now why was this a valid break of structure? Because the high that we break over here brought us to a fresh low compared to this low that brought us to that high. So it was a significant high to break. So we longed the pullback and we pumped it towards the upside. What we can see on this pullback is that this pullback slightly front run that mid-range level. So this can pretty much be called an inducement of the pivotal mid-range level. Now why is this a valid inducement? Because after front running the mid-range, we create a fake break of structure over here and another fake break of structure over here. And these fake break of structures, they're inducing people into opening up longs on this pump or on this pullback. And where are these people that are going to open up these longs because they identify this fake break of structure as a valid one? Where are they going to put their stop loss? Exactly, they're going to put their stop beneath this low and beneath this low. So they're putting their stop loss exactly where we have high time frame support, because we have the mid-range right there. If we switch on the 200 EMA and the 200 estimated moving average on the 4-hourly time frame, we can see that both of them are perfectly aligning with the mid-range area as well. But more importantly, what we can see over here is a high time frame, high probability, A+ bullish demand / order block. Why is this a bullish order block, a high probability one? An order block needs to meet certain requirements in order for the order block to be high probability, in order for us to trade that order block. Now, the first requirement is, as we can see over here, is that the order block needs to sweep liquidity while it is being formed. We swept valid liquidity. Second of all, the order block needs to initiate an impulse that shifts structure. Over here, we impulse up after forming the order block and we shift structure over here. Third, we need to have a valid inducement above the order block. And what can we see? We have a valid inducement above it. And we cannot forget that we need to have a high probability bullish fair value gap above the order block as well. What can we see? We have this high probability bullish fair value gap on the 4-hourly time frame aligning above the order block. Why is this fair value gap so important? This is something that people often ask me. Because this fair value gap is indicating strength from the bulls after putting in that demand / order block. So that breakaway gap from forming that order block is indicating strength from the bulls. So that is exactly what we obviously want to see in order to trade that order block. So right now what can we see is that we have a beautiful potential POI to start laddering in some limit long orders over here. First entry around the mid-range, where we also have the 200 moving average and the 200 estimated moving average. First take profit target would be this buy side liquidity over here. That is already a very nice RR of 2.84, and then we can look for some more long entries. Besides Forex and commodity trading, PrimeXPT has now also introduced crypto futures trading. So you can now also trade Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the numerous amounts of altcoins. Next to the fact that I think that PrimeXPT to trade Forex and commodities with your own funds instead of trading at prop firms like Private Funded, I think PrimeXPT is the best place to do so. Make sure to sign up with the link down below in the description to receive a 7% deposit bonus. Lower down inside of this order block, now what can I see is that we have this hour 1 top of this order block over here as well, aligning inside of that bigger hour 4 order block. Definitely my area of interest for a potential second entry point. So if this is our first entry point, we can look for a second entry point over here, exactly where we have the top of that hour 1 order block, same invalidation, and then we can measure the same first take profit target. That's already an RR of 7.72. Eventually I will target a breakout of this range, and then we can target a lot higher for Litecoin. But I think, guys, that Litecoin is definitely looking interesting. If it gives us a quick flush today, I think if you ladder in some limit long orders with your invalidation beneath the demand/order block, I think you are looking at a high probability trade setup, because we have the confluence of the mid-range, confluence of the order block, high probability order block, with the daily market structure in our favor. So I think alongside the EMAs that are also beautifully aligning around that order block, I think we are definitely looking at a very nice A+ long setup. RUNE, on the other hand, is also looking very interesting, but for RUNE, guys, we definitely need some more confirmation in order to trigger a long setup. But if we get this kind of confirmation that I will explain to you guys, which is very, very easy to understand, in which you can easily keep an eye on that confirmation yourself, we are definitely looking at an A+ setup. And I think if we get that confirmation, that RUNE is definitely ready to give us a 100% plus pump. What we can see over here as well is a beautiful range, guys. Pivot number 1 and 2 over here. Then we can see that we have pivot number 3, pivot number 4, pivot number 5, pivot number 6, giving us a high probability range. After getting that breakout towards the upside, we need to zoom in on the lower time frames to potentially trade the retest that we are seeing over here. We are seeing retest number 1, retest number 2. We know that these perfect retests, if they provide bounces, that people are going to long these kind of bounces. Where are those people going to put their stops? Exactly, they're putting their stops beneath this low, in which we are currently wicking into that liquidity pool that was being engineered beneath this low and beneath this low. So we are potentially mitigating it. After mitigating the liquidity pool, we saw a nice push up, and RUNE tried to shift structure on a 4-hourly time frame. I told you guys yesterday on the Twitch live stream to wait for a candle open and a candle close above this high, the brothers to this low, in order to get a valid trigger and a valid shift to structure. Those that waited got rewarded, because we closed one candle above, but the next one closed below. And then afterwards you can see that we get a huge dump once again. Now I think many people are trapped into longs. Where do those people have their stop? Beneath this low over here. So a very, very clean, very, very high probability trigger that is being developed over here on RUNE. If RUNE is going to sweep this low over here, where we have a valid low time frame sales and liquidity resting, and that sweep is being followed up by another reclaim of that range high with a valid shift to structure based on this significant high, you have such a beautiful higher low to play and then to target a huge 100% plus pump. So in that case, wait, guys, for a candle open and a candle close above the high. Not just a candle close above the high, no wick above the high, no, a candle open and candle close above that high that brings us to a fresh low, which makes it a significant high to break. If you get that kind of trigger, you can easily long the pullback over here, right? Ladder in multiple limit long orders, put your stop beneath the local low, and then we can target high time frame buy side liquidity, which is resting indeed above this high, which should provide us with almost a 100% pump. But more importantly, the 100% pump is not that important if we target this high over here, but more importantly, the RR is important. And if we get a trade like this, executed like this as well, then we are looking at a beautiful RR trade of approximately 8.2. It's not only a beautiful RR trade, because I don't really care about the RR. What I care about is the probability of this setup succeeding. And if we get a scenario like this, we are looking at a high probability A+ setup, which could potentially bring us huge profits as well. And that's exactly the kind of setups that you want to be looking for as a trader.